The wind came sideways, sharp enough to cut. Grant Miller pulled his collar high and urged his mare forward through white blindness, checking fence lines that probably weren't worth the ride. Late March in Montana Territory had a way of reminding a man who was in charge, and it wasn't him. The blizzard howled like something dying. Visibility was nothing. Grant considered turning back when he heard it, a child's cry, thin and desperate against the wind. He almost dismissed it as an animal. Almost. Conscience was a stubborn thing. He angled his mare toward the sound, squinting through the snow. What he found stopped his heart. An overturned wagon, half buried, its canvas torn and flapping. A small boy crouched beside a woman lying motionless in the snow. "Please," the boy screamed when he saw Grant. "Please don't leave us." Grant dismounted, his boots sinking deep. The woman was unconscious, her face a startling, porcelain pallor against the white. No horses, no supplies within reach, no help coming. He checked her pulse, faint, but there. The boy was maybe 9 years old, shaking so hard his teeth chattered. "She won't wake up," the boy sobbed. "Is she?" "Not if I can help it, son." Grant lifted the woman as gently as he could. She was surprisingly light. He secured her across his saddle. "Hold tight to me. Don't let go." He pulled the boy up behind the woman, felt small arms lock around his waist. The cabin was still a mile away. In this storm, it might as well be 10. Grant turned his mare into the wind and pushed forward. The boy whispered prayers against his back. The woman's breathing was shallow. 2 more mouths, Grant thought. 6 weeks of winter left. God help us all. But he didn't slow down. The cabin held warmth like a promise barely kept. Grant laid the woman on his bed, the boy hovering beside her like a small guard. "Get back, son. Let me work." Grant built up the fire, then filled a tin cup with water from the kettle. He added willow bark from his stores for pain and fever and knelt beside the woman. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, dark and intelligent. Even through the haze of shock, she took in the cabin, Grant's face, the boy beside her. "Bo," she whispered. "Is Bo?" "I'm here, Mama." The boy gripped her hand. She exhaled slowly, then tried to sit up. Grant stopped her with a gentle hand. "Ankle sprained, not broken. But you need rest." He offered the cup. "Drink this. It'll help." She drank without question, then studied him with unsettling clarity. "I am Lian Chen," she said. "This is my son, Bo. We are grateful for your kindness, Mr. Miller." Grant Miller. He stood, suddenly aware of how small his cabin must seem. 1 room, 1 bed, 2 chairs, and a table that had seen better years. "How long must we impose upon you, Mr. Miller?" "Till the thaw. Could be 6 weeks. No one travels this country in March storms." Lian's expression didn't change, but something passed behind her eyes, resignation, maybe calculation. "Then we are in your debt." "It's not debt," Grant said. "It's just what's right." He pulled a pot of venison stew from the shelf and set it on the stove. Bo watched him with enormous eyes, dark and solemn. "Hungry, son?" The boy nodded. Grant ladled out 3 bowls, smaller portions than usual, but no one commented. Bo ate like he was starving. Lian ate sparingly, her gaze moving between Grant and the empty cradle in the corner. She didn't ask. Grant was grateful. When the meal was done, he laid out the sleeping arrangements. Lian would take the bed. Bo would get Grant's bedroll by the fire. Grant would make do with the chair. Lian started to protest. Grant raised a hand. "No arguments. You're injured and the boy needs proper rest." She nodded slowly. "You are a man of principle, Mr. Miller." "Just a man," Grant said. Night settled heavy. The wind rattled the shutters. Bo murmured in his sleep, restless. Lian's eyes found Grant's across the darkness. "You have lost someone," she said quietly. "I can see it." Grant looked at the fire. Most folks out here have. My husband passed 2 years ago. Her voice was steady. Some winters never thaw. Until they must, Grant said, and something in his chest loosened just slightly. The fire crackled. Outside, the storm raged on. Grant woke to the smell of coffee, real coffee, not the chicory he'd been stretching for months. Leanne moved carefully around the stove, favoring her good ankle, as if she'd always belonged there. "Morning," she said. "I hope you don't mind. I found your stores. You should be resting." "I have rested enough, and idle hands do not suit me." Bo was already awake, sitting cross-legged by the fire, staring at Grant like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "Why do you live alone?" the boy asked. "Bo," Leanne said sharply. "Manners." "It's all right." Grant poured himself coffee, buying time with a long sip. "Just the way things turned out." "And where's your family?" The question landed like a stone in still water. Grant's gaze drifted to the cradle. 3 winters ago. Mary, heavy with child. The storm trapping them miles from town. The midwife couldn't reach them. Grant had done everything he could, everything he knew. But it wasn't enough. His daughter lived for 3 hours. Mary followed her by dawn. He'd buried them under the pine tree behind the cabin. Some days he still heard Mary's voice in the wind. "Mr. Miller," Leanne's voice was gentle. Grant blinked. "Lost them. Long time ago." Bo's face crumpled with an understanding far beyond his years. "My papa died, too. Mama said he's watching from heaven." When Grant spoke, his voice was rough. "Then he's proud of how brave you are." Leanne's eyes shimmered. "And he would be grateful for men like you, Mr. Miller." Before Grant could respond, the wind picked up, a low moan that set his teeth on edge. He stepped outside. The sky was dark green at the edges. "Another storm," he called. "Bigger than the first." By noon, the blizzard was hammering the cabin like fists. Grant braced the door with timber, showing Bo how to wedge the planks tight. "Like this?" Bo asked, pushing hard. "Just like that." "Good work, son," the boy beamed. Leanne watched them from beside the stove, her expression unreadable. But when Grant caught her eye, she smiled, a sad and knowing thing. The walls groaned, the shutters banged. If they survived this storm, he knew, his isolation was over. He couldn't unsee their need, or his own. The days found their pattern like stone settling in a creek bed, unexpected, but inevitable. 3 weeks passed. The storms eased, though winter still held the land in its grip, snow piled high against the cabin walls. The world beyond was white silence. Inside, routines formed. In the mornings, Grant taught Bo practical skills: how to mend harness leather with an awl and wax thread, how to split kindling with a hatchet, short, controlled strikes, how to read animal tracks in the snow. Rabbit. Deer. Coyote. The boy absorbed everything with fierce concentration, his small hands mimicking Grant's movements. "Why do rabbits hop in circles?" Bo asked one afternoon. "Confuses predators. Makes them harder to catch." "Are people like that, too?" Grant paused, considered. "Sometimes." When they're scared, Bo nodded solemnly, as if Grant had confirmed something he'd long suspected. In the evenings, the boy read aloud from Grant's only book, a worn Bible his mother had given him decades ago. Bo's reading was flawless, his voice clear. "You've had schooling," Grant observed. "Mama insisted on tutors," Bo said, then quieter, before she. He didn't finish. Leanne, mending Grant's coat by lamplight, glanced up but said nothing. She'd proven herself invaluable. Her stitching was finer than any Grant had seen, tiny, even stitches that made his torn sleeve look new. She stretched their supplies with quiet efficiency, turning simple ingredients into proper meals. She never complained, just moved through the cabin with a grace that suggested capability, not servitude. One evening, as Bo slept and the fire burned low, Leanne set down her sewing. You never speak her name, she said softly. Your wife. Grant's jaw tightened. He stared at the flames. May I know it? Leanne asked. The silence stretched, then, barely audible, Mary. That is a kindness to her memory. And to yourself, speaking it. Grant nodded, unable to respond, his throat too tight. Leanne returned to her stitching, but something had shifted. A door had opened, just slightly. Later, as they prepared for bed, Leanne paused. We should leave soon. The thaw is coming. Grant hung his coat on the peg. I know. Bo asks every day if we can stay. He's a good boy. He loves you. Leanne's voice was quiet. He feels safe here. Grant turned. Leanne met his gaze, unflinching. Do you? Grant asked. Feel safe? Yes, no hesitation. Safer than I have felt in years. The words hung between them. Grant wanted to ask her to stay, wanted to beg, but fear was louder than want. Good night, Mrs. Chen, he said instead. She smiled, sad around the edges. Good night, Grant. Spring arrived not as a victory, but as a question. Now what? Late April brought warmer days. Icicles dripped from the eaves. Crows returned, calling from the pines. Patches of brown earth appeared through the snow like promises. Leanne's ankle had fully healed. She walked the property each morning, her gaze assessing. She studied the creek, the soil, the natural grazing areas. One afternoon, she stopped beside Grant as he repaired a section of fence. This land could be worth a great deal with proper management, she said. Grant shrugged. It's worth my peace. Leanne tilted her head. And peace is worth more than gold. To me, it is. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. A rare man, Grant Miller. Bo had grown bolder. He followed Grant everywhere, chattering endlessly. Can we stay? He asked one evening, point blank. Grant set down the harness he'd been oiling. Your family must be searching for you. They'll want you home. I don't care about them. I want to stay here with you. The boy's face was fierce, desperate. Grant's heart cracked clean through. You don't want us, Bo whispered. That's why you won't say yes. That's not true. Then why? Because you deserve better than this. The words burst out of Grant before he could stop them. You deserve a real home, a real family, not some broken-down rancher in the middle of nowhere. Bo stared at him. Then quietly, you're not broken. You're the best man I know. Grant couldn't breathe. That night, Bo had nightmares, thrashing and crying out. Grant was at his side before Leanne could rise. He held the boy, whispered reassurances, stroked his hair the way he'd imagined doing for his own child. Leanne watched from the shadows, tears streaming silently down her face. When Bo finally settled, Grant looked up. Leanne mouthed two words. Thank you. The next morning, she approached Grant while Bo slept. You are a good man, Grant. Better than you believe yourself to be. Grant shook his head. I'm just. You have given us more than shelter. You have given Bo hope. You have given me something I thought I had lost. What's that? Faith, she said. In the possibility of starting over. Grant wanted to say it, wanted to ask them to stay, to build something together, but the words wouldn't come. Leanne pulled a folded letter from her pocket. When we leave, I will need to post this. My family will be concerned. Grant's stomach dropped. Family. Wealth. Position. They'll come for you, he said. Yes. And you will go back to your world. Leanne met his eyes. I don't know what world I belong to anymore. Grant turned away before she could see his face. He heard the horses before he saw them. Too many hooves for a neighborly visit. 6 riders crested the hill, moving fast. Fine horses, tailored coats despite the trail conditions. The lead rider was a man in his 40s, square-jawed and cold-eyed. Bo, playing outside, froze, then bolted for the cabin. "Grant! Men coming!" Leanne stepped onto the porch, her posture suddenly rigid. Grant moved beside her instinctively, protective. The riders pulled up. The lead man dismounted, ignoring Grant entirely. "Mrs. Leanne Chen," his voice was clipped, formal. "Thank God. The entire territory has been searching." Chen. The Chen Trading Company. Railroads, shipping, more wealth than most men could count. "Jin," Leanne said evenly. "I sent word we were safe 3 weeks ago." "We have been frantic." Jin's gaze finally landed on Grant, assessing and dismissive in the same glance. "This is Grant Miller," Leanne said. "This is my land." "Is it?" Jin's smile didn't reach his eyes. "How fortunate for you," sheltering my sister-in-law and nephew. Bo had hidden behind Grant, gripping his coat. "The boy needed help," Grant said. "So, I helped." "Of course." "Very noble." Jin pulled an envelope from his coat. "I am prepared to compensate you generously for your trouble." "I don't want your money." Jin's smile thinned. "Everyone has a price, Mr. Miller." "Name yours." "Then you don't know everyone." Leanne stepped forward. "Jin. Mr. Miller saved our lives. We were robbed by our own escorts, left to die in the blizzard. I told him nothing because I did not know if I could trust him." Grant felt the words like a blade. "Didn't know if I could trust him." "I see," Jin's tone suggested he didn't believe it. "Well, regardless, it is time to leave." "Leanne, Bo, we have brought a carriage." "I don't want to go," Bo said, voice shaking. "He's my friend." Jin grabbed Bo's arm, not gently. "Enough. We are leaving." "Wait," Leanne started, but Jin was already dragging Bo toward the horses. The boy looked back at Grant, tears streaming, and something in Grant's chest shattered. What right did he have to stop them? Leanne approached Grant, her eyes pleading. "Grant, I should have told you the truth. I was frightened. I didn't know." "It's fine," Grant's voice was flat. "You did what you had to." "It is not fine. You should go, Mrs. Chen. Your family is waiting." Her face crumpled, but she nodded and turned away. Grant watched them ride off. Bo twisted in the saddle, waving desperately. Grant didn't wave back. When they were gone, he walked into his cabin. It had never been louder in its silence. 2 weeks passed. Spring bloomed around Grant, but he was dying inside. He chopped firewood obsessively, ate beans from the can, punishing himself for the sin of caring, of hoping. One afternoon, he found Bo's small carved tiger behind the woodpile. He stared at it, nearly threw it into the stove, but couldn't. He sank to the floor, the wooden tiger clutched in his fist, and wept, the first tears since Mary's death, great wrenching sobs that tore out of him. When he was empty, he sat in the silence and heard Mary's voice, memory or imagination. "You saved them once, Grant. Are you brave enough to be saved?" "They lied," he said to the empty room. "They were never helpless. They were dying." "That was true. The rest doesn't matter. She didn't trust me. She barely knew you. Trust is earned. So earn it." He looked toward the corner, but the cradle wasn't there. He'd moved it to the shed weeks ago and hadn't even noticed. The cabin was changing. He was changing. "I love them," he whispered. "Not their money. Them." The words settled like truth. A thunderstorm rolled in that evening. Grant stood outside in it, face turned up, letting the rain wash over him. He walked to the pine tree where Mary and his daughter were buried. "Mary," he said to the storm. "I don't know if you can hear me, but I think you sent them. Not to replace you. No one could. But to remind me that love doesn't die just because people do. It just waits for us to be brave enough to try again." Lightning split the sky. At dawn, he saddled his mare and put the wooden tiger in his saddlebag. He was riding to the Chen estate, not for reconciliation. For truth. The Chen estate wasn't a ranch, it was a kingdom. Grant rode through the gates, his mare's hooves loud on the packed road. The main house loomed ahead, 2 stories, white painted with a wraparound porch, wealth in every plank. Grant felt microscopic, but he didn't turn back. Jin intercepted him at the corral. "You've got nerve showing up here. What do you want?" "I want to speak to Mrs. Chen. She is not receiving visitors." "Then I'll wait." "Sam!" Bo burst from the house, running full speed. He crashed into Grant with desperate force, arms locking around his waist. "You came. Grandma said you wouldn't, but I knew. I knew you would." Grant knelt, held the boy tight. "Hey, son. Miss me?" Bo nodded against his shoulder, crying. Leanne appeared on the porch, one hand pressed to her mouth. She descended the steps slowly, hope and fear warring in her expression. "Grant." Grant stood, keeping one hand on Bo's shoulder. Ranch hands had gathered now, watching. Jin looked murderous. "I came to say something I should have said when you left." Leanne stopped a few feet away. "I am listening." Grant took a breath, faced her, faced all of them. "I didn't shelter you for reward. I didn't care who you were. You needed help and I gave it, because that's the code a man lives by or he's not a man at all." His voice steadied. "But there's more. These past weeks, you reminded me what living is. Not just surviving. I loved having you in my home. I loved hearing Bo laugh. I loved." He stopped, collected himself. "I loved feeling like I mattered again." Silence. Every eye on him. Leanne stepped closer. "Grant, I stayed those extra weeks because I was waiting for you to ask us not to leave. When you did not, I thought perhaps I had mistaken your kindness for something more. I was afraid." Grant's throat was tight. "Afraid you'd pity me. Afraid I wasn't enough." "You are more than enough," Leanne's voice broke. "You are everything Bo needs." "Everything I?" She stopped, but Grant understood. Bo pulled Grant's hand. "Does this mean you'll stay? Or we can come back?" Grant looked at Leanne. "I can't offer you a mansion. Just a cabin, hard work, and a man who will never stop trying to be worthy of you." Leanne's smile was sunlight through clouds. "Grant, I do not want a mansion. I want a home. And home is where you are." Jin made a disgusted sound and stalked away. Adelaide took Grant's hand and led him toward the porch. They had much to discuss: partnership, land, the future. The 3 of them sat together, and for the first time in 3 years, Grant felt the weight lift. 3 months later, August heat shimmered over the meadow. Grant's cabin now had a second room, built with timber Grant had cut and Chen ranch hands had helped raise. Grant was foreman of the Northern Range, now a partnership, not charity. He'd proposed combining his land with the Chen property, and Leanne had agreed immediately. The land prospered under his careful stewardship. Bo visited every weekend. His room was simple but loved, the carved tiger on the windowsill. Adelaide visited 3 times a week, their relationship deepening slowly, respectfully. One evening, they stood together watching the sunset. Bo, perched on Grant's shoulder, looked out over the land. "Grant," he said, "when I grow up, can I run this ranch with you?" "Son, you'll run the whole territory if you want. But yes, we'll run it together." Leanne squeezed Grant's hand. "You have given him a future. You have given me a second chance." "You gave me a reason to take it," Grant replied. That night, after Bo was asleep, Grant and Leanne stood in the doorway. The empty cradle was long gone, replaced by a child's laughter, a woman's presence, a home that breathed with life. "Winter tests us," Leanne said softly. Grant nodded. "Spring proves what remains." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "And summer," Grant smiled, feeling peace settle in his bones. Summer, he said, is for the living.